Hey guys, JHoyt here. Before this video gets started, I just want to say thank you guys for all the support across the channel recently. But if you haven't yet, or if you're brand new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below as we have our next installment of our franchise mode with the Detroit Red Wings. What's going on, guys? JHoyt back with you today. Welcome back to episode number 7 of our franchise mode with the Detroit Red Wings. So we're 3 seasons in. You know, we had our struggles. Obviously, we got our prospects. We rebuilt our team. And although I don't think we're ready to, challenge for the cup this year, I think we're very, very close. And we also sit in a pretty good position looking for the playoffs. So our team currently sits at 23-16-2. Not a bad record. We currently sit 4th overall in our division in a wild card spot. So we're only 3 points behind the next place team, and we have 3 games in hand on that team. So we can easily move up into that spot, get out of the wild card spot, and eventually hopefully solidify that playoff spot. But as we saw last video, right, the last episode we saw some holes on our team, right? Our last 10 hasn't been the greatest, 4-5-1. The last kind of month hasn't been the greatest for us. So although I hate to keep making trades, I want to just let this team rock and hopefully they can just figure it out on their own. We do have some holes in our lineup, obviously. That's no question about it. And I want to address those to start off this one. So we actually have 2 trades. Once again, we're going to fix a past mistake and we're going to add to our team. But let's fix that mistake first. So our first trade is on your screen now, and what did I mean by mistake? Well, Gauthier, whatever his name is, hasn't been it for us. He's been struggling. He's severely minus, not really producing points, not playing well overall. So we're going to end up trading him away along with one of our unsigned prospects that has a little bit of trade value over to the New York Islanders in exchange for Joe Pavelski. So Pavelski probably will slot down in that third line role, help out with the penalty kill, just be that mentorship on that bottom 6 lines. And overall, we kind of get him for relatively cheap. So obviously, New York wants to get rid of him anyway. So this should be pretty straightforward getting him on our team. No question about it. So let's go get these lines sorted, or I should say the roster moves sorted, and then we'll move on to our second trade. And our second trade is, again, on your screen. Now, the reason behind this trade is, well, Cholowski doesn't really fit our team. And the reason I say that is, 1, he's not really performing. 2, when you look at his actual, what would it even be called, the scheme fit, he doesn't fit at all, right? So he has barely anything for lines 1 and 3, and then the other 2. So he'd just be yellows on that second line. But unfortunately, he's not performing well enough to actually be on that second line, especially with our other 2 left defensemen there. So we found a decent fit. Calgary has a surplus of defensemen. Now, the only bad thing about this trade is that he still has 3 years left, I should say 2 more years at $5.275 million. But the only thing it does give us is his Pro Scout. He fits in all of our defensive pairings. So that's the good thing. Only bad thing would be, obviously, he comes with a contract, but he is performing. He does play well defensively. So this was actually going to be a trade that I did to start off the year. Never could get it to go through with the pieces, but now is the time. I think trading Cholowski will help us out. It gives us a more stable defenseman, and definitely should help on our penalty kill. So let's edit the lines, get those in order, and then continue on with the rest of the year. So we got both those guys in our lineups. All the lineups are finally sorted. So let's go on through the rest of the year. Ideally, we shouldn't have to make any other trades unless something goes wrong or we feel like at the deadline we could add on something else. But For now, I have no more moves planned. So let's get up to the trade deadline and see how the team progresses here. So like I said, to start off this video, we are 23-16-2. Let's jump to the end of the month here, to about the 5th or so. Can we rebound, right? 4-5-1 in our last 10. That's not good enough for a team that's looking for the playoffs. So we have to look for a Montreal game because they're the team that's right above us that is going to prevent us from getting into that spot. So a lot of really back and forth games here. We win one, we lose one. We win one, we lose one. Now, that could be decent, but we need all wins, right? We need to win more than we lose. That's how you play hockey. So what do we sit in? So 58. So we're still a few games behind. Now we're even with Montreal, and we're still a few games back here. So not what we want to be at, but let's get up to the trade deadline here and see what we're going to be going for once we get up to the deadline. Like I said, we still sit in a playoff spot, not by much though. We need to hang on to that playoff spot. Let's see if we can go back to it here. Yeah, we're at 63 points, so we are in that wild card spot, but at least behind us is 60 points. So only a game or two away from losing it. So we need to stay on top of things, and we need to stay there. So let's go see what we're doing here. So this is going to be a really close race, I think. So, okay, so we're out by 1 point, but we still have one game in hand from the Lightning. So still in a good spot, but our last 10 is not the best. So here we are at the trade deadline, a couple days before it at least. And we got to take a look at the standings because we got to see what we want to do. So I don't feel like we should tank at this point since we are very close. So where are we here? We are the Eastern Conference. Here we are. So we sit 9th. So where's points? So we sit 1 point out of the 8th place spot. And we're in what? The Atlantic, I believe? Yes. So we sit, so Montreal and Boston. So we got some tough competition there, that's for sure. So unless we go on a big run, I don't feel like we're going to catch Boston. Montreal could if we get a good stretch of games and they get a bad stretch of games. But our main, and I hate to say it like this, but our kind of only hope is to stay in that wild card spot, honestly. And unfortunately, we're going to get a really tough matchup to start off the playoffs. But at least we're in the playoffs. Anything can happen once we get there. So obviously, there's some teams chomping right on our butt to get in there. They're only a couple points behind themselves. And actually, there's a really good close race here with everyone that's not Ottawa or New York. It's going to be a close one. That's for sure. So unfortunately, we don't really have the flexibility to do a lot of things here. So I think we just have to ride out our team as it is now. Hopefully, they can fix whatever problems they have so we can get in that spot. Like I said, 1 point away from that wild card spot, and the other one is at 70. So even if we can't reach Montreal, we might be able to get into one of those 2 wild card spots. So that's gonna be the goal. I'm gonna go for it. I don't think we're gonna make any other roster moves, but for now, we're gonna go for the playoff push and kind of hope that we can pull through here at the end. So we'll get kind of close towards the end of the season, and then we'll kind of see how everything stacks up here. So yeah, no more trades. We'll stick to the team that we have. So it is do or die time. Alex Edler ended up getting put on waivers, so he had one more year at $3 million. So we went ahead and claimed him, just be an extra body on our team, although injuries are not even on. So we'll see what happens once we get upcoming here, and it's still an extremely, extremely close race between us and the Lightning. So a couple of good string of games here. I'm trying to watch. I wish the standings would just stay on me for a second here. So still 1 point behind them. Now the Lightning dropped. So it's a very close race. Like I said, when we checked out all the teams, it's a very, very close race. Actually, we're 1 point out of 3rd place as well. So a huge game versus Montreal right here, and we win that one. So This could not be closer. Let's go set up this series, or set up the end of the year here. So we sit with 83 points right now. Okay, so the second wildcard spot has 90. So basically, we can win either with our third place in division or in the last wildcard spot. But if you see who we need to face off against, we just beat Montreal, which was huge. Our other teams we need to beat Florida and who's the other team there? The Lightning, right? So if we win and make it into division play, it'll be a little bit easier for us, I think. So let's rock it out day by day here, and we'll keep watch on the standings. So every win will be crucial. Every loss will be detrimental. So we drop out temporarily here, but we got some big games upcoming here. So Florida, that last game versus Florida could decide everything, but we need to win. I think probably like half these games in order to get in here. So 85 points. We have a game in hand on the Lightning, and we still sit 3 points out from our division spot. So we still can make it. We just need to win. I believe it'd be 2 of these games. Okay, so those 4 spots are locked up, no question about it. So now it's a 4-team race between the Canadiens, the Lightning, us, and the Panthers. So that last game, like I said, will be absolutely crucial. But this is game time. There's a huge win versus Boston. So the Canadiens locked their spot somehow, because they have 1 game. We technically could beat them, but maybe head-to-head, I'm not sure. But this might come down to that last game, honestly. It might come down to that last game. Panthers are still out, so they have to win one of their games here. Huge win there, and we lock it in. We lock in playoffs right there, which is absolutely huge. So we still have 1 more point on the Lightning. We beat the Panthers out by a couple of points, but we have officially made the playoffs, right? So I think we might be able to beat Montreal, jump up on top of that. Let's go see. That wasn't the button that I wanted to click here. So, of course, we'll check all the stats and everything afterwards. But let's see what happens in the last game. Will we get 3rd place? We don't. So Montreal still had another game to play, and it looks like they won as well. So not bad. We get 91 points as a team this year. We finished the year with a 43, 34, and 5 record. But of course, let's go check the team stats, scout our first round opponent, and then we'll wrap up the video. Let's go take a look at the team stats, even though it's our roster and not our actual team. But Larkin, once again, leads the way in points. Mantha with a big year, 88 points himself. Bergeron, probably going to be a 1-year thing for us, but still an absolute great performance out of him. More than a point per game, play on that second line, absolutely crucial. Raymond with a huge year, not quite point per game, but very close to it. Super proud of him as it is. Bertuzzi and Toffoli on that second line, almost 60 bombs for both of them. Really huge there. Zadina stepped up at the end of the year, 55 points. He was playing on our third line. Pavelski, after he came over, what did he do? So 18 points in 41 games. Obviously not what we wanted, but he still could do anything here in the playoffs. Of course, I back out of by accident. So let's leave it off with Pavelski and see what happens after him. So Hartman stepped up a little bit. He got moved up to the third line at the end of the year after some lineup changes. Rasmussen ends with 30 points. Not the best. Obviously, I want him to be our third line center. Obviously, with Bergeron, not knowing his future, Rasmussen probably wants a spot up there, but he hasn't really shown he can perform to get up to that spot, and he's playing significantly minus. So we'll have to evaluate that in the offseason, but for now, it's time to focus on the playoffs. So pretty good performance by everyone there. Only a couple of players, or I guess only one player minus, but still good performance at everyone. 19 through 26 points as a whole spread, pretty big there. I was honestly debating on trying to get a new backup goaltender for the playoff run because Howard wasn't really performing. However, he steps back up. makes himself go even. Bennington held his own weight up there, 34 wins. Pretty solid out of him. But let's go check the team stats, see if we have any more weaknesses, and see if we improved on those holes. So we ended in 15th position overall in the entire league, and you know, it's decent, but we made the playoffs, which is what we wanted. So like I said earlier, final win total of 43, 34, and 5. You know, not the greatest, but you know what? We made the playoffs. So we'll have to see where we stack up with the rest of the league here. So 270 something. We're definitely not in the top. Their goals, I would assume we would win a lot. Wow, look at that. Nashville allowed a ton of goals, barely went even, and they still did really well. That's very interesting. So we're number 15 overall. I didn't actually see what our goals against were, but where are we? So we're in the playoffs here. So there it is. So we had 200. So somehow we definitely need to fix our defense. That's for sure. So we actually allowed more goals than we scored, which you never want to see. Power play, yeah, that's not going to be the greatest of numbers there. What is this? The power play percentage? Yeah, we're probably towards the bottom of that one. Arizona didn't really have a good power play either. And again, I didn't see what our number was. So let's scroll down a little bit here and see if we can find us. So there we are. So 20.9%. You know what? Not the greatest, but still not horrible. So we only allowed one shorthanded goal this year, which I guess is decent. Penalty kill 76. That's definitely going to be towards the bottom. Yeah, there we are. So penalty kill definitely was a big thing. Even though we had some players that were worth it, definitely didn't perform well at the end. But our final home, away, and last 10 here, 21, 17, and 3 at home, 22, 17, and 2 away, and the last 10, of course, 7 and 3. So that last month went down to the wire. And but fortunately, we pushed through. We made it into the playoffs, and here we sit awaiting our first round opponent. So let's go see who we're gonna play, turn on injuries, and set you up for next episode. So we definitely didn't get a favorable draw as we face off against the number one team in the East, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And of course, we already know they're big stars, but let's go give them a full scouting report. So here they are. We already kind of knew what we were going to be facing in this one with most of these guys. But we got a top line of Nylander, Matthews, and Marner. So obviously really solid there. Second line, Kerfoot, Tavares, and Hyman. Then, bottom six that, a line of 83s and a line of, like 80 overalls. So, this one's going to be tough. If we can shut down their stars, we should have a chance. Over on the defensive side, though, Muzzin and Lindgren, Brody and Sandin, Dermott and Hall. So, decent little pull there. And then, obviously, we already know who's going to be their not starter. Cal Peterson and Marc-Andre Fleury. Not exactly sure who's going to be their starter. I guess Fleury, since he got majority of the games, but they both performed pretty decent. So, not sure where Anderson ended up, but still, they got a lot of star players and a really good top six as far as forwards go. A pretty good top four when you look at defensemen, and they have a goaltender who did really well for them this season. So when you compare the two teams, we do have some star players of our own right, where actually it's a little bit more balanced than I thought. Obviously, we have Larkin as our main guy. Mantha, Bergeron, Toffoli, Bertuzzi, Raymond, Zadina, all really solid options on our team. When you look over on the defensive side, we have a pretty consistent, mid-80s overall as far as everyone. But our defense is not really where we shine. It's kind of at the forward and in goal. Jordan Bennington's there. Hopefully he can lead us to a Stanley Cup. We'll turn on injuries and prepare for our next episode of the franchise mode. We got a very tough first matchup in the playoffs, but the big thing is we made the playoffs. So will we make a run? Will we not? You'll have to stay tuned until the next episode. But with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit that like button down below if you haven't yet, or if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button down there as well. And as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.